When people spit on me, don't even talk to me if you don't. I only had one beer. One beer.
Hello. Welcome back to Pit Pub, Episode 3. I'm your host, Jack 14500 Griggs, and I'm here with my guest, Cayman. It's a waffle. It's gonna get soggy. Reed.
Hey.
How you doing, man? Thanks for being here.
Doing pretty good, Jack. Just chilling out, you know.
Just chilling in my house from a locally sourced event. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good description. All right, so we're gonna kick straight into Jack's malfunctioning Wii U, and that's our question every time.
All right.
Yeah, that's the title of it. Jack's broken toy box.
Okay.
So then, so my question to you is: you are an artist as well, to where you create music, and I know you're in a bit of a hiatus now. So I do wonder how
hiatus is I don't know if that's the proper term for it.
What would the proper term?
More of a retirement.
Okay, well you said you're gonna make it soon. Like you're talking about alter egos and stuff.
Coming out is a different story. I might come out of retirement eventually.
Okay, that's fair.
Some proper encouragement's needed.
Okay, so I was gonna ask, how do you sort of balance the difference between like working on something in the downtime versus relaxing and knowing that's gonna sort of help subconsciously later?
Ultimately, I don't. I try to get my work done.
Shut it down. Okay.
Yeah, I try to get my work done. If anything, not give myself that chance to think. Because if you give yourself that chance to think, that gives you time to ultimately push it away and procrastinate it. So if you get it done right away, there's no room for error.
Okay. So there's like the fault error, to where it's like as compared to any other like any productive error you can fix and improve later.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that's how you define an error then, is like not working off itself.
In a sense, yes. Cool. I mean, error could hold many different definitions based on the perspective that you have.
Not just about your sort of thoughts on like error itself, because like an error to most people would be something that you can like build off of and fix later. But I'm assuming you're meaning something that you can't really.
Yeah, ultimately it'd be more detrimental to me.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. I like that perspective. So we're going to kick it off with our albums. I'm going to introduce mine first, because last episode we didn't do that, and it was kind of weird. But here we go. Yeah. You haven't seen the last episode yet, because it's not out yet. But because we filmed it like 3 months ago, and we're still working on the logo. Shout out to that.
Oh yeah.
I like that voice. So anyway, my picks are... the theme for this episode, I forgot to say that. I'm a real professional here, in case you can't tell. My theme, or the theme for the whole episode, I like to call this episode, the title is, the whole point of a cover is to judge it. Stop appearing like a fake deep just to get your local theater chick that you have a crush on because you saw in a 3rd grade production of Marley and Me. That's the title. It's going to be in the title. They've already read it, so they kind of spoiled it, but it's funny. Anyway, so the whole like topic is cover art, and that we found interesting and to be in detail. So the albums that I picked were Aesop with The Impossible Kid, Milo with Who Told You to Think, The Unicorns with Who Will Cut Our Hair When We're Gone, and of course the returning champion, Death Grips the Money Store. So Cam, if you like to tell them your picks.
Yeah, I went with a little bit more of a mainstream taste. I chose My Beautiful Dark Fantasy by Kanye West. Twisted Fantasy. Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick Lamar, K.O.D., J. Cole, and STRFKR by STRFKR, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, J. Cole K.O.D. has the Vanilla Turkish Taffy award of this episode, which we actually invented last episode because I was hungry. And then we just kind of applied it to everything because our last guest was very indignant about it. But here we are. All right, so we're going to start with the first matchup, which I like to call Two Sides of the Same Groin. And that, of course, being Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy versus Kendrick Lamar with Good Kid, Mad City. So which album would you like to talk about out of those two?
Honestly, I feel like I have a more personal attachment to My Dark Twisted Beautiful Fantasy. However much I botched that name just now.
No, that's fine. So just give us like a quick like summary or like the things you liked or disliked about it, and we'll sort of compare them later. So go ahead.
I think that the majority of the things that I can appreciate in this album were Kanye's just overall personable outreach to his audience. It felt more genuine. It felt like it was actually coming from him. It felt like he put in an opinion that he wasn't afraid to elaborate on. And it's funny that you say that about Kanye, because that's just something that he's always been known for. But I feel like this album is something that made that a trademark of his.
Mm-hmm. Like the ego sort of just incorporated in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with Power Man, come on.
Yeah.
That track really put that God complex on him.
It just kind of defined the whole generation of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what, were there anything about it that were outright, like, you didn't like about it? Like, any songs in particular? Or is it overall just pretty good?
I mean, there's a few minor things that I didn't like in a couple of songs, but
the existence of Nicki Minaj.
Yes, put simply. But overall, it's well produced and well written. Of course, as we're admiring today, the artwork on it. How many different covers were there altogether?
At least 8.
Yeah, I mean, you have to appreciate it just for the quantity itself.
And they're all pretty good quality too. Like there's like not really a outlier in that many.
Yeah, I think I read something that he go to like Paris or something. He had a painter from Paris. Mm-hmm. I forgot the guy's name. Pretty sure he's somewhere up there. But I enjoyed the artwork where he had his own head at the end of a sword. Don't know how else to describe that.
That was pretty good. I think that was the single art for Power, actually. So that kind of ties back together.
Yeah.
All right, so you're good with that. I'm going to go ahead and kick off with your other album. Yeah, these are both Cayman's picks, by the way, which you already know because we said in the beginning. Thank you, me. So we went Good Kid, Mad City, which I'm pretty versed by because it's my least favorite Kendrick album. But we'll get into
All right.
But we'll get into why. So the things I do like about it are, production-wise, things are really good. I feel like Dr. Dre had a lot of work into this. I feel like it really shows just the difference of this compared to Section 80 or any like Overly Dedicated. Because I feel like it's really unique, and at points it does get repetitive, like with Don't Kill My Vibe, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I feel like that needed a change in momentum. But then like Backseat Freestyle comes in, it's just like, that flows really well. It's a good method. But then you get later on, I feel like later on in the albums where it really shines with like Sing About Me, I'm Dying First, was actually my favorite Kendrick song. And no, it's nice. I like it because the way he tells the story in it of 3 perspectives. And it's not only that, it's them actually having compounding metaphors and like extended just sort of scenes, if you will. I feel like that really goes to that song's benefit. And honestly, like that song made me dislike the rest of the album more because I feel like the rest of the album is just a really simple story. And to where it's interesting the first time. Yeah, like people say it's a movie, and it even says on the title. And it is like a movie, but at the same time, it's a straightforward movie where you know the story after the first time. And I feel like that is good for first-time listens, but I feel like the replay value of it being a truly great album, it kind of limits itself with that, personally. If you have any thoughts on that, feel free.
Well, I feel like as far as revisit value goes, just like with any movie, you can revisit a few scenes in that movie, but it does lose a bit of value, that's for certain. But I don't think it loses as much as that you state. I think that it holds some of it.
No, I think it definitely holds it, like with Sing About Me and with My Good Kid, for example, and Mad City as a song. But so when it goes to the actual song point, rather than like in general, I feel like the Art of Peer Pressure, a lot of people really like because of its story. I think it's good. But the problem is it's just story. Like, there's no really sort of flourishes or... I know I keep on saying metaphor, but there's no really sort of figurative language that lets you sort of delve deeper in it. I know you can argue symbolism, but at that point, if you don't put in, like, sort of abstract objects or abstract concepts, I feel like it's really hard to apply symbolism to, like, simple things. I'm sure the van you can add stuff to, but...
Yeah, I can feel that because, I mean, with symbolism, a lot of the time, you can just make attachments that aren't even there. Mm-hmm. So, like, I don't know exactly where I'm going with this.
I go for it. Rev up your engine, Doc.
Those same attachments that you would make to certain things in the album might not necessarily be that exact attachment. And it's the same thing with understanding different metaphors and similes and stuff like that. I mean, there's a literal context to it, but still there's the side of interpretation to the coin.
Right. And that's where I'm saying this lacks, is that it cannot be interpreted really outside of that structure that it lays.
It's a little bit too straightforward. Yeah.
And as well as, like, when it comes to feature-wise, I think J-Rock's verse on Money Trees was good. But Money Trees as a whole, I think, is... I know that a lot of people say it should be simple and, like, the way it sort of says, but I don't know, I've kind of found that as a fault. And with Poetic Justice, Kendrick's verse was good. Drake's was not.
Yeah. No, going back to Money Trees, that's honestly one of my favorite tracks on that entire album. Simply,
I agree with that.
I don't know where to begin with it. I think it's a great song. It's got that vibe to it that lets you chill out, and it explains the small stories, not completely, but to where you can pick up on.
And that's right. Again, I think this album shines is within like "Sing About Me" and "Hell Even Real." Like you get these mini stories that compound a whole story that I feel like the rest of the album is lacking, which I think is good. And "Good Kid" is always an underrated song. Like people don't even know that song with how big Mad City was. But yeah, I think overall it was good. I hated the ending on this though, Compton.
Oh,
like that song I did not like at all because it was like they should have ended it at Real.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
You should have ended it with him going to the studio, and then like that's the product of the album. That'd be a good like tie-in. But then Compton was just unnecessary.
Yeah,
I feel
this is like that extra.
Yeah. So let's start comparing these, I guess. I feel like Dark Twisted Fantasy had less of the overall story, but I feel like that sort of enriched it more because it let you get that individual sort of topic-wise rather than like a carry-along story.
Going back on that, I feel like Fantasy has more of the individual story, just like you said, and Good Kid is more of an extended story. It's a series.
Right, yeah, and I feel like that individual sort of analytical topic that Fantasy goes with, it really sort of it shines in that because it doesn't delegate itself to just like a path, if that makes sense.
Yeah, not just one topic, multiple topics facing on different fronts.
Sonically, I feel like the production on Fantasy just blows Mad Kid out of the water, personally.
Oh no doubt.
Yeah, so I mean Dre's a great producer, but like Kanye's Kanye, like he's made like 8 albums that all sound completely different, but it has to maintain the same quality. And this is like debatably his best one, so you can't really beat that.
Yeah, I mean, and just from the sound of it, period.
Yeah,
I mean,
like even like there's one song on Dark Twisted Fantasy that I can't really give credit to, and that's Blame Game because they stole that Aphex Twin sample. I don't know if you know about that.
Yeah, I didn't realize it.
Yeah,
I didn't catch it.
If for those who don't know, the main piano in Blame Game was an unsampled or an uncleared sample from Aphex Twin, one of my favorite producers, just so you know. And it was just a really weird situation because he contacted him and was like, hey, if you just want to clear it, it's cool, and I'll even remix it for you because it like I can improve the sound quality. And they're like, yeah, okay, it's ours. And that was just a whole like awkward situation with that, so I can't really endorse that production of that song. But the rest of the album is beautifully produced, besides Soul Paul. Yeah. But Soul Paul. Okay, here's another thing with that is people like that song, and I don't mean to like overtake your sort of topic here. No, but I'm just saying that like that song's way too repetitive. Like you need to have, like if you're gonna make a song 6 minutes, you need to have some sort of switch in either, because like and that's not just vocalists.
No, that's a given. Honestly, with length, you have to have variety.
Yeah,
you can't like continue on with the same sounds and same rhythms, and you gotta have the switch up in there. You gotta have a little bit of sicko mode,
Stop. and dude, and they cut off RZA's verse, which I'm kind of mad at, but RZA's a good rapper. To say the least. So, who are you taking your vote for who goes on?
Gonna have to go with Kanye here.
I agree. I think you can tell by the context. So, Good Kid is out, and Kanye has advanced. So, we're going with that. I'm just put it on the ground because that's where this album deserves to be. Yeah, I really don't like the album. I mean, I do like it, but I don't like it. That's like a difference. It's like, do you like this person or do you not like this person?
Yeah, like
it's like when you go to school and you see the school play and it's just like they're trying, but stop.
I mean, it's a fond friend to me. It's a pretty good close friend that I got. You see him every day. You say what's up. He's tight. Yeah, he's a good guy.
That's a good guy. They should put that on the tagline for this album. It's tight.
It's tight. It's tight.
There you go. All right, so on to the next round. We got, I would call this the returning champion versus an impossible decision. Because in case you didn't know, my picks for this are stacked. Like these are some of my favorite albums of all time. So you got Death Grips by The Money Store versus Impossible Kid by Aesop Rock. And which one do you want to talk about out of these two? Like to summarize.
Let's start with the Aesop Rock.
All right, you want me to give it a little rundown? I feel of it, or
yeah, okay. Go ahead.
All right, so Aesop Rock, the Impossible Kid, is first of all Aesop Rock's my favorite musician ever, so that's gonna give some credit to this decision. But this was his 2016 album after a 4-year break with Skeleton, which is my favorite album of all time. Don't mean to mutter, but. Impossible Kid was it was a lot more. I picked this one because I feel like it went along with Good Kid in the sense that compared to his standard, it was a lot more accessible. Because I don't want to compare obviously his discography because that's not what we're here for. But Impossible Kid, it starts with Mystery Fish, which is just a really good... That is reminiscent of his old... Not even old, that's reminiscent of the Skeleton sort of vocabulary, to where he brings in like a lot of metaphors, adding to like this one central area and the influences on him where he had growing up.
Yeah, I when I was first listening to the album, I noticed some of these metaphors that you're speaking on, but I didn't pick up on them as fast as I'd expect, because he's kind of sly with it, you know?
Esoteric.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a word people use to describe him, but then it sort of transfers into... I picked him again because it represents that sort of mini-story angle that adds all to like an overall story, which I really enjoyed. With like Rings talking about like his old drawing career not really panning out, and him going to art school. And then like you have the whole Shrunk Chronicles, him like going to therapy, not liking it, and then having like an actual resentment toward it, but then also learning from that resentment.
Yeah.
And ending it with the end song, which is Molecules. Got it. And yeah, no, it's an overall, production-wise, I think it's fantastic, because do you know the story of how this album was produced? He went to a barn and lived in a barn for a year with only his producing equipment.
That's some dedication, honestly.
And that's where Rabies came out of, was just that, like with him just living in a barn. It was pretty interesting.
Tell. Yeah. And he told it well.
He also did a song about his cat with Kirby.
What was that one track that he had that I had listened to when I first started like listening to him?
That was
Cat Food.
Yeah, Cat Food. Yeah, that's off his EP.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. Aisle 14 by the Cat Food. Like, it's great, man. What do you think of My Belly when we're on other topics?
I honestly, we're just gonna skip that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Here's Belly's a table. You gotta respect it. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. Impossible Kid, I feel like lyricism is really on point. He actually made it more accessible with a sort of strategy that Lyricology 101, he's a channel on YouTube who's covered him before. He mentioned a strategy he did where every 4 bars he makes them more complex, where the intro bar is sort of a standard and general idea, and the second and third one are sort of more progressive when it comes to complexity and like applicability. Then the fourth one is just like a completely out of left field thing. Yeah. Like he did that a lot in Dorks, which is a great like analytical piece on hip hop now, where and we're gonna compare that later when we get to J. Cole in 1985 and how not to do it. But when we get, not a fan. That's gonna hint towards something. But anyway, back to Aesop. I think overall it's a very entertaining album. I gave it a 9 out of 10 when I reviewed it personally. And I don't know if you agree with that, but what do you think of Money Store? Go ahead and tell us about Death Grips, the Money Store, aka the Returning Champion.
Well, Death Grips for me, that album was it's aggressive. It's aggressive to say the least. The thing about Death Grips is that's all of their music. I mean, they have some of their chill tracks that are a bit.
Well, what would be a chill Death Grips track?
That'd take some time to think on.
Okay, cool.
But going back to that energy that I was saying that they had before, I mean, you can see it in the cover alone. It's very, let's just say, provocative. They have kind of a rage type feel to their music. It makes you want to just do something. Yeah, do something that physical. It
makes you want to kick wet cement. Or not.
No, wet cement sounds pretty good. Yeah. Partially dried cement.
Oh, okay. So it's not like fully solid yet, but it'll still hurt?
Yeah,
okay.
Slightly condensed.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's a good summation of them as a whole. So go ahead, more about like sonically on this album. What were you feeling, like track-wise?
Track-wise, honestly, I have to go back. Hustle Bones. Hustle Bones is definitely one of my, more,
provocative?
No, not exactly provocative. I enjoy the song simply because just the energy behind it. It's it has the same aggressive taste as the rest of the songs do on the album, but there's some enjoyment to it too.
What do you think of the chorus of the voice?
We're not gonna speak on that.
No, I like it. I always laugh when I hear it, but I feel like at the same time that I don't mean to cut you off here.
Now you talking about the yeah, that thing.
But
I don't know actually.
No, I like it because I think it adds like a mixture of happiness to that anger, to where you have to sort of balance them out and like have a whimsy to it, to just being angry in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to get to.
Oh, sorry.
Just couldn't find the words for it there.
No, you're good. No, it's funny because last episode when we had Wade on the show, he talked about that as well, and I was like, "What are you doing?" But I think overall it's a great album. What are you thinking, like quality wise? Like because like lyricism obviously is great in this album. But like anything that's sort of
quality-wise, nothing really. It's a compact album. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that pops out to me as far as errors goes, and there's nothing that really pops out to me as far as like 100%. That was great. It's more of a something I listen to every now and then.
Yeah. See, that was what was one of my main problems with this album. Was it felt too short in the sense of how good quality the songs were. It did not have that sort of. It gave you the mindset of that anxious sort of end of the world type mindset, but the way it ended didn't feel significant to the overall. Like, for example, like in Aesop Rock, you're taking through a sort of journey where it ends. It's like, this is the ending. Mm-hmm. This has closure. There's no closure to the ending of Money Store, I feel.
Yeah,
like,
you left
Hacker's
out,
fantastic, but
yeah, you feel kind of left out to dry there.
Right, which could be the point of it, and that makes sense in like the society where there's no real closure. Which, and I'm thinking about it, sort of, it could very well be that. It just feels, in the sense of an album, it felt like it would have been more satisfying if there was that closure.
Yeah, true enough.
So, I didn't really comment on the album art of Aesop Rock's Impossible Kid. It's phenomenal, like how big it is and how encompassing. Because I have the record of it, which you get a fold-out poster that's like the size of that wall. But Alex something is the artist, and I own an art book by him as well. Like, I'm a huge fan of his work. I worked on the Kimmy Dawson album, Thunder Thighs. That's a good album.
Pretty solid, yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was interesting because just how like extravagant it was really sort of added that whole mindset of feeling. I don't even say feeling alone. It's just the idea of nothing, I guess.
Nothingness, yeah. I can feel that.
Yeah, so what do you think in comparison-wise? What do you want to talk about?
As far as comparison between the two goes, well, looking at Death Grip's art style of their cover, I like the provocative.
I know, I agree. I think there's a symbolism between like the listener being the gimp person and the sort of artist being the one holding the chain.
Yeah, because in a sense they do have control over us. But maybe that could even be reversed because in a sense we control the artist. We like pressure them to produce more music. Mm-hmm. Not exactly sure where to go with this. Yeah. Help me out here.
No, I see what you're saying. I would disagree with that in the terms of Death Grips, because I would say traditional artists, absolutely, but in terms of Death Grips who've actively disliked their fans before, like...
True enough. See, I didn't take that into account. Yeah, that's true.
Like, you remember the whole No Love Deep Web situation with their label, right?
What happened there?
Where they were mad at their label because their label wanted to delay their album by a year, so then they leaked it online and then quit their label and then started their own.
Some Lil Uzi stuff right there.
Well, you see, they make good music. So.
Yeah.
I don't call that a slight diss with no contextual sources. Hell yeah. You know, they're good though. So, anything about Impossible Kid you want to sort of delve on?
As far as the artwork goes,
or not even that, just music-wise.
Music-wise, it didn't pop out to me as much as the Death Grips album goes, because just I have more history with Death Grips and I've listened to them more often. Like, I didn't recently start listening to Aesop Rock until this year.
'Cause me.
So I think I like the Death Grips album more just because I have more familiarity with them.
Yeah, okay. And I think that's understandable because it's sort of personal connection versus objective qualities both have sort of equal power in that situation.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a hard conversation for me because these are two very good albums that I really enjoy. Because I give them both 9 out of 10s. And I know I keep going back to score like that harkens to something important, but it doesn't. So what do you think? Who do you think are you going to vote for here? Because comparison-wise, I feel like they're very hard to... Because they both have a sort of... Because Aesop Rocks is again more of a narrative than a feeling, mm-hmm. and Money Store is more of a feeling and like a mindset of a viewpoint, I guess.
So it's like you're taking two things out of separate categories and comparing them almost.
Right. I would personally go with Impossible Kid just in the sense of I enjoy the individual stories, like Blood Sandwich, which is fantastic, and just the sort of more, I'd say hyper-focused and then with also a broad focus, if that makes sense.
I'm going to have to, just from what I've said before, I'm going to have to go with the Money Store.
Yeah, and we're good because now we get to implement the system that happens when we tie, because we didn't get to do that last episode because I am gullible. So what we do is we get our piece of Turkish taffy, we flip it, because this is a show all about the conversations and not the results. That's our tagline, thank you. So we're just going to flip it, and whoever wins goes on, and then make it more fair to compare. So you ready? Which one do you want to represent which?
I shall get the blank side.
This one?
Yep.
Alright, so this blank side is Money Store. You can't even see it. I don't know why I'm saying it. We're just going to flip it, and we're going to trust us as content providers, because that's a parody on something. Someone can connect that symbolism-wise. Anyway, let's go. Hey. Alright, so I guess Impossible Kid goes on because it landed face up. Alright, so Impossible Kid goes on. Sorry to the returning champion, but you know how it goes sometimes. Alright, on to the next round. which I like to call Miles Over Mutterance. And that, of course, being the Unicorns with Who Will Cut Our Hair When We're Gone versus STRFKR with their debut, STRFKR.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you want to talk about STRFKR because that was your choice and Unicorns is my choice.
Yeah, STRFKR, they're different. They've got an alternative effect to them, but at the same time, it's a bit of a poppy vibe.
Yeah.
Altogether, it was like an indie mix. But some of the more tracks that I originally like are Ronald.
Just say Ronald.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep it to Ronald. The title of the song is way too long, but it's got that kind of upbeat, just woke up in the morning type feeling. You know, you just up and at 'em. Overall.
Up and Adam Savage.
Yeah.
From Mythbusters.
Speaking on just the tracks itself, there was a lot of that upbeatness in it and overall euphoria. And as far as artwork goes on the cover, it was a bit, don't know how to exactly pinpoint the words to say it, but it was a bit eccentric.
It was like complicated minimalism.
Yeah. Good way to put it.
Dude, you are failing your vocabulary test right now.
Honestly,
I don't know.
In all honesty,
I'm barely passing. So.
the amount of geological shapes it had.
Geological shapes?
Oh God, can we just cut that?
No, we're keeping it in, dude. We're keeping that in like we were gonna put in 14,500 for you.
No. Anyways,
now that's on record.
The shapes on the album provided with the profiles of
just the shapes.
we're just gonna leave it at shapes. The profiles of was it the profile of a woman? That was literally it.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know what effect it had, but it looked good. It looked good.
You don't know what it was, but it had an effect.
Exactly.
Nice. Okay, so it was good. I'm gonna go into Who Will Cut Our Hair When We're Gone by the Unicorns. I really enjoyed it because it has a really cool structure and wise where it does not repeat itself, like chorus-wise or anything, but apart from, I think, Sea Ghost, which, again, great song. But I really like the punk structure of it to apply. Because this album, okay, to sum up this album is why I hate the current pop punk like genre, because I feel like that Who Will Cut Our Hair When We're Gone just lays such a good track work for it, where they take elements of pop and put them in the punk format. I feel like it's a really good combination in sense of like the vocals are strong and clear, but the instrumentation as well follows that non-repetitive, always evolving structure, which I really enjoy in this album. And like I'm not really gonna name individual songs because it just carries through like each song, which is really impressive. I feel.
Yeah, I got that vibe as well from listening to it. It felt like it was almost an extended storyline there. It's just like a continuous song almost. Mm-hmm. Not exactly though, because you did have those multiple switch ups in the varying songs.
Right, but the switch ups in the songs imply that it was one big song.
And it was necessary too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we were talking about, again, not to refer to the last episode, but we talked about this sort of idea versus having one long song being a compliment. I feel almost because like to have that sort of same tone, but at the same time to venture out to different themes and different sonic.
It's impressive.
Ventures is very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as for lyricism for this song, I feel that is one of its strong points as well. Like, there's no real outlier of difficulty in this because lyricism, if you don't, I know you're sort of familiar with it, with the whole ideas of unicorns and like belief being the main sort of fortitude of an idea, but also the difference between physical, like non-influence versus idealistic influence. I think it's a really good conversation to have.
Yeah. Speaking back on that, like,
speaking back on the thing we just mentioned.
Exactly. With that, it's like you can notice it even in their own sounds in the music because it's almost like otherworldly, like an out-of-body experience almost. Right. Like you don't even have a physical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the... And before we compare them, artwork-wise, I think it's beautiful because it really does encapsulate that sort of like almost whimsical. Like I hate the word whimsy because that implies that it's not serious. So I would say this sort of I always use the word candy floss in the sorts of this because like it's serious like food, but at the same time it has that sort of childlike, not even childlike, that sort of not even real feel of it. Like I don't know. Again, I don't want to say dreamlike, but fantasy, I guess would be the best word for it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the artwork on it as well. I actually enjoyed the artwork on that more than I did the STRFKR's album because with the STRFKR's album, it kind of felt like it was a bit of a fever dream looking at it. Just a bit.
Yeah, and that's where I sort of had a problem with STRFKR's album. I'm just gonna say that word more because I like it. But that's where I had the problem with that was the first half of it. I felt didn't venture far enough into that because I've heard it described a lot as like drug music and stuff you listen to sort of encapsulate that feeling. But I feel like the first half didn't really go along with that because the first half felt like their basses were very bland, or not even bland, just very like safe. I feel with like they have like occasional like sort of moments of okay, that's cool, you added that, but they always have that safety net of the instrumental to fall back on when that stuff is out. So I feel like they were trying too hard to appeal to both sides on that.
Yeah.
At least for the first half. Now the second half of it, when the instrumental interlude came in, I think it was track 8, and it was indeed called a certain type of song that I am definitely remembering and using my brain. It's called Heart Smart Beta. That song I feel like and it's only track 8 in an 11-track album, but I feel like that really had a turning point of it where they committed to that sound. And I really enjoyed that because from there onward they really went into odd like time signatures and odd instrumentation choices. I think really worked, and I wish that would have, or not, don't even wish, I would have enjoyed it more if that was applied to the rest of the album, I feel.
Yeah.
And lyricism-wise, I don't think it compares at all because it's very simple. And that's another problem I had with the vocals, where the Unicorns was nice because you had that very strong, very prominent, unique vocal contrasting that unique instrumentation. To where on STRFKR's, the voice just sounded generic, honestly. Like, it was not memorable.
No, you're definitely correct here. With STRFKR's, it was more of, like I said earlier, with that pop vibe. It's, like you said, generic and kind of cookie cutter.
Yeah.
It feels like you've heard it before, almost.
Yeah, it's like a safety net. Like, you can't criticize this for doing what other people have established, you know? Yeah. So, I think the winner's pretty clear here.
Most definitely. It's not even stated.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have to. Dude, that'd be like a cool concept for a show. Like, all the like topics were just implied, and you never addressed anything.
That would be...
There's a political joke here about the DNC and the RNC, but I'm not going to make it.
Alright.
See, because I'm following that structure. See, I'm going to cut that out because that wasn't funny. Unless I leave it in because the anti-funny left the funniness. I call that applying justice. Anyway. That's... Oh, shit. So the final... So we're going with the Unicorns. Sorry for ruining the joke. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay, cool. That would have been really funny if we were just on completely different levels. You're like, what?
No. I mean, I brought the STRFKR's album to the table, but that doesn't mean I'm liable to think that you have a better opinion on something. Yeah. And for our last round, we have, I like to call this round, What Happens When Your High Lags? Because it's Milo's Who Told You to Think versus Jeremiah Cole's K.O.D. Now, you picked Jeremiah Cole's album, and I picked Milo's album. I would like you to go first before I rip into this album, because I am not a fan of K.O.D. So yeah, well, I'm not going to do anything to back it up or support it simply because I'm not prepared for the barrage that it's probably going to get. But I'll do my best to give my proper opinion of it. Go ahead. For me, it was a good listen. It was kind of fun, simple. You know, it had an overall message to it. You are scared. It had a message. I am not scared, Jack. Okay, go. I will never be scared. I'm just trying to... I'm scared for the album itself. That's what I'm saying. I'm scared for it. It had a good message. I gave you that message. The message was, kids are on drugs. Okay. And yeah. I mean, that album art was pretty cool, man. He was like he was in a robe. You can see why we gave this the Turkish Shafi Award. Yes. Okay, you want to comment anything sonically, or do you just want to end it there? I mean, what could I comment sonically? It was basically a remake of every rap album that came out before it. Yeah. It seemed like... What do you think of... Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like you're just going to say it's generic Prince stuff pretty much, right? Yeah, no. You can cut me off there, get to the point. Now, I want to wonder, what do you think of the justification that J. Cole fans give that he wanted to do that to make it sellable? Do you think that's a proper justification for it, or can you make that a critique? It's not proper justification because J. Cole himself said that he doesn't want to appeal to the main audiences. I mean, like, we've seen him more publicly thus far in, like, featuring on other people's songs and stuff like that. Yeah. But overall, I don't think that's relevant. Agreed. Yeah. I feel like that's just not a good conversation to have.
to where you can just excuse someone because it makes money.
Exactly.
Like, especially if you as a consumer are funding them, then you are buying into that sort of appeal, which I don't really enjoy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna mention mine before we get into that. So mine is Milo's "Who Told You to Think." This is my rap album of the year for 2017, and because I think it's just incredible. Because production wise, you just start off with Poet Black Bean, which is just a really I feel like it's an interesting start for him because of in the context of his discography, where he's now like a father as compared to when his last album came out when he was still part of Hellfire Club, which is like a group he was in. Then he quit because it was mismanaged and he lost a lot of his masters. In case you didn't know. But I think it was a really interesting step up from him, and it was a really cool evolution just to see happen. Because this album has, I mean, Milo always has different sounds with all of his stuff, like with Scallops Hotel. But this one especially, I feel, had that meaning of questioning everything but not expecting an answer. But in that turn being the answer of the question, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't exactly get to see Milo's exact adaptation and evolution.
Right, because this was your first Milo
Yeah,
album.
this was my first Milo album here. And needless to say, I was impressed. It carried meaning to it. It felt like you were listening to something, unlike that empty feeling you get listening to a lot of this mainstream stuff that's on the radio today. That's mostly just a repeated chorus to a beat.
I feel like you're alluding to a certain song off of your album that you seem to have picked, but I don't know if you're meaning to.
Count it
There you
up.
go. Yeah, there you go.
Count it up.
Yeah. But no, back to Milo's thing, I feel, apart from sonically, which is a very sort of understated change, like with landscaping, like call, form, picture, and magician, even sorcerer, like the more upbeat stuff, like paging Mr. Bill Nunn. It really adds. Again, it's a really good example of keeping the same tone, but while also having in diversity and like delegation of ideas really well.
Yeah.
And then not even starting lyrically. Like lyrically, he's just on another level.
Honestly, out of all of the new albums that I had listened to, that was one of the more prominent ones that I appreciated.
Yeah. Well, you made a comment earlier in our pre-discussion about like flow and vocabulary. If you want to comment on that.
Yeah, he's just like, it's almost as if he can carry the sound of like an actual poet, but not lose any of his grammatics or any of his actual vocabulary and rhetoric, and he doesn't sound stupid.
Yeah.
He just doesn't sound stupid.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, because his delivery actually took me a little bit to get used to, because it's so like spoken word-ish, if that makes sense. But it still flows, which is really impressive, I feel. Mm-hmm. And just as a whole, I think it's a fantastic album. Features, I think, are actually really good as well. Especially, what do you think of Young Man's feature?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The... Is
Yeah.
that... yeah.
Man, you know, they're good. And I know this was like the premonition of Nostrum Grocers, which was him and Euclid's album like together, which he was the one in landscaping. Which was cool, which I'm still mad about because they sold out of cassettes on the night of our show that we went to, and it was a tour exclusive thing, and I am still kind of salty about that. Thank you for that. Yeah. No, it's cool. That speaking of that show, I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent here. It was really cool because we got there like 2 hours early, and we got to talk to him and help them with like sound check up and stuff. It was cool.
That was pretty sick.
Yeah, no, he's a dope individual. I gave him a demo CD as well, but I haven't gotten a response in 3 months, so we know how that went.
Yeah,
so.
maybe you listen to a couple tracks.
No, maybe. Well, I feel like they listened to it, just turned it off. But yeah, time will tell on that. So yeah, overall comparison wise, I feel like Milo's. And let me speak a bit before we do comparison. I would like to speak a bit about K.O.D. by J. Cole, by Jeremiah Cole. Sorry, if you would like to allow me that pleasure.
Go right ahead.
So here's my problem with K.O.D. All right, the messaging. It feels like okay. I don't want to compare it to things outside of it, but it feels like it's trying way too hard to be To Pimp a Butterfly, because you've heard To Pimp a Butterfly, right? Mm-hmm. I assumed you would because you picked Good Kid, Mad City, because of the repetition of that your choice nonsense that the person's talking in the beginning. The reason that Kendrick, I'm just using this as a comparative point to why it doesn't work, because the reason Kendrick's works is that he adds on to it every song. Like with that repeated poem, if you guys know what I'm talking about, the repeated poem in To Pimp a Butterfly, it's great. But the reason it's great is because it adds to itself and evolves with meaning. But the problem is that J. Cole's the one that once you hear it immediately, you already get it. Like, you know, there's drugs, there's happiness, there's other outlets of addiction, but, you know, there's still addiction. But you get that with the first listen, so when you hear it, it doesn't really add anything to the song or to the overall album.
Really reflects the fan base, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's another thing with Kill Edward, like his like ultimate personality. That's another thing you get immediately with just being this overdrugged fan. And to be fair, it's only in 2 songs, but even that feels too repetitive, I feel. Because you get that just immediately with that sort of character structure.
Yeah.
As well as with production. Production-wise, I think... So, no, at a point in the album beforehand, when it gets... Before Kevin's Heart, pretty much, I think all the production is just terrible. Like, it just feels way too repetitive and way too... Not even repetitive, it just feels boring. Like, there's no real... And I know that's maybe be the point with drugs and how it says it does that. But you don't need to stretch it out to 6 songs. Because it's just a trap drum with another instrumental to contrast it. And they're an off signature, I feel, as well. And it just gets kind of frustrating when... Like, he's rapping about not appealing to the public and not appealing to everything. But at the same time, it's...
He's appealing... Yeah.
Yeah, he's appealing to, like, ritualistic naivety, if that makes sense.
It's like he's trying to get money out of the same machine he's trying to bring down.
Yeah, exactly. And it just gets kind of muddled, I feel. But after that, Kevin's Heart I actually really like as a song.
Really?
Yeah, both. Because it's everything I feel like it should have been. Like this whole album. Again, going back to the Sing About Me situation.
So you think that represents the album?
I feel like it represents what it wanted to be. Because instrument-wise, I think it's really nice because the drums are actually a unique signature in terms of time, as well as with the instrumentation being more than just like a guitar or something to stack on top of the trap drum,
right.
Which I think is nice. And as well as the story being told, I think is a new thing. And that's what makes the rest of the album, I think, frustrating. Because after that, you have Brackets and even Once an Addict, which I think are, again, really good songs. Because they add to that idea of multiple meanings and multiple sort of instrumentation going with the song, rather than just being a backdrop for the song.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I enjoy. And Window Pane, by the way, that's a really bad title for a song, Window Pane. What is your opinion on that?
I don't think it was that bad, honestly. I don't think it's as bad as you say. Now, before, you said you didn't mind 1984 that much.
No, I was about to get in 1985. And
1985, yeah.
Contrasting it to, now that I think about it, contrasting it to Dorks by Aesop Rock, which is another sort of take. What is it?
George Orwell's.
George Orwell's Dorks.
I was thinking about 1984 for some reason.
Oh, nice. So, no, because I think Dorks does everything it tries to be again. To our 1985, you know the YBN Cordae response to this, right?
Yeah, I've heard both, yeah.
I feel like he just blew it out of the water because he showed how he generalized people a lot in that sense.
It made me happy because, like, it allowed for that to happen.
That's true. It allowed for that other voice to actually get a moment.
Exactly. And I think it needed to be said because, like, everybody, this whole generation was getting heat for sounding like mumble rap, even though we have artists that are trying to break that mold.
Yeah, like Milo.
Yeah, exactly. And so what YBN Cordae did is basically just told J. Cole to shut up. Like,
yeah,
shut up.
But that's the thing, though. I don't like it being a catalyst rather than not adding anything. I feel like the most it did was being a conduit for that critique rather than being... Because I feel like there are 2 separate arguments you could have with that, which would be good, and this wasn't a good representation of the old generation versus the new generation argument. But speaking of Kevin's Heart, by the way, I hate that music video. Kevin's Heart.
Oh no, yeah, the music video is terrible.
Yeah, like it was so cheesy having Kevin Hart in it. Like, what's the point?
Yeah,
like that just hurt to watch.
Dragged it through the mud.
Dragged it through the blood.
Through the mud.
not through the blood, dude. Okay.
Through the blood.
So comparing the two, I feel like K.O.D. is not good as compared to Milo's, which I do think is good. To put it simply.
Now, what would you say the complete difference between the two would be?
I would say that Who Told You to Think is, like you said, it's more of a poet writing it, if that makes sense, to where it feels like more of just a piece of art, or like a written art, if anything. Because it has themes, it has motifs, it has like repetition, but for purpose, to where repetition adds to it. Like with the end of Sorcerers, with the lag timeline. That was there because it happens so often and how it happens, but the same amount of work is still being done. Yeah,
it's got a lot of variables that lead up to it being the end product that it is.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, with K.O.D., it's kind of like...
K.O.D. just says count it up because he gets money. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, you just counted it up, man.
Like, yeah, you get a lot of money, but at the same time, that's it. Like, there's no really sort of... No, I don't even say deeper meaning. There's no impactful meaning. So, I would say, and just on that alone, that's why I think Who Told You to Think is a better album. Not even in terms of production, which, again, I think Who Told You to Think is a much better produced album. Shout out to Milo, by the way, for producing a lot of his stuff. I know he had like some help from Kenny Siegel and stuff on this album.
When you told me he produced that album, I was that's pretty impressive that he did that all himself, and then fucking
yeah, it happens. Yeah. So I feel like vote's pretty clear. I'm gonna go with Who Told You to Think. Who would you go with personally?
I'm just gonna go with Who Told You to Think because of just the sheer shit K.O.D. got.
The cover art's good though.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I liked it. It was pretty neat how they had like that.
Had the kid.
Yeah, it was a nice kid with a crown.
He wore the crown.
Yeah.
I don't think you know what the cover art.
No, I do know what it is.
Okay.
I wasn't saying the kid wore the crown. I said he had a kid while he was wearing a crown.
Oh, okay. He had multiple kids.
Yeah, there's a couple of them under there. Kids on drugs.
Is that what that stands for? I thought it stood for killing our demons. By the way, speaking of motifs, don't say the word demon again. Okay, J. Cole. I hate it. That's the thing I hate now with mainstream rap is the word demon. That's been ruined by mainstream rap now.
Well, I mean, like if you look at the industry, they obsess over it.
I know, but that's the thing though. Like the word demon in songs are just been so overused to represent negative emotions or depression, but at the same time, it killed any sort of momentum it had.
Speaking on that same topic, I'm pretty sure on the Carter 5, Lil Wayne had a song called...
Where are we going, dude?
I don't know. I mean...
We are revving our engines.
I mean, like, what was it? He had some song with the title Demon in there. And speaking on the Carter 5, I didn't even really enjoy it that much.
Really?
Yeah, I liked about 6 songs on it, and that was it.
Well, see, I normally like... For that era of Lil Wayne, I think 6 songs is a blessing that you like. Because of I'm Not a Human Being Too.
Oh, that's true. His older material was so much better.
Yeah, the Carter 2 is a classic.
Oh my god. I mean, just going as far, even as little back as the Carter 4.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Well, I didn't like that album. But
really?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that whole sort of... I didn't like the Carter 3 that much either. It is the samples on, like on Millie, the sample was kind of obnoxious for me.
Too poppy.
Not even too poppy, it should have just played during the chorus. Like, the fact that it was in during the voices felt a bit, or the verses felt a bit obnoxious, but where are we going with this, dude? We're on Lil Wayne now.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I just went with it.
No, you're good, man. I think it's a good conversation to have. The Carter 2 is the best album, though. That's not a hot take. That's a very cold take.
I think the best Lil Wayne album, hands down, is probably the Carter 3.
This is best. That's his best seller, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but sales don't. J. Cole should be a premonition of why sales don't matter. Dab. Hey, you did not mention the platinum thing though, like you said you would. So I do.
Oh, we didn't.
I mean, which I appreciate.
I think we shouldn't.
I agree. People who know what it is know what it is. If they don't, then they're lucky. All right, so on to the more comparative stuff. Next up, we have Kanye West's Dark Twisted Fantasy versus Aesop Rock the Impossible Kid. So we can go directly into comparisons because we've already said it.
Yep.
So any points you want to make first?
This is gonna be very biased for me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Same here probably because Aesop Rock's my favorite musician.
Yeah, and then I'm not gonna just like straight up say Kanye is my favorite musician because I'm probably gonna get some slack for that shit. But he's pretty up there for me.
Yeah, go for it. Any comparison points you want to make?
As far as comparison points go, just the overall, there's more professionalism with Kanye's, but that's due to his experience.
Okay.
It's not just because of the difference between their skill set. It's just because of his experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing that I'd rate that album over.
When did Aesop Rock start making music?
I'm not sure, actually, so I can't...
1995, mother.
You're kidding, right?
No.
So my point's completely invalid.
Correct.
Alright then, moving on.
You ever heard of Def Jam?
No.
Yeah, they were a really prominent underground hip hop group with him and LP from Run the Jewels. Because they were like best friends and they worked together a lot.
Well, I mean, you can't exactly say because he's been in the industry longer doesn't mean he has more experience.
No, I was just going on your point of time-wise.
Yeah, time, that's true. I brought it up.
Yeah. No, I know, and I mentioned the Run the Jewels thing because you're a huge fan of Run the Jewels.
Yeah, I actually do like Run the Jewels a lot. I can appreciate some of their stuff.
Yeah.
Some of it. Most of their stuff.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that because Aesop Rock worked a lot with LP and with his older stuff.
Really?
Like Bazooka Tooth and whatever.
I have to go look back at some of that.
Yeah, they're great, man. I don't know. I personally prefer that era of LP. Mm-hmm. And debatably Aesop Rock. Bazooka Tooth, Aesop Rock as a whole is a very different. They have like eras of progression. But going back to comparison, here's why I prefer Impossible Kid to Dark Twisted Fantasy. Which because Dark Twisted Fantasy, I think you have a point with production as to, I feel like consistent wise, Aesop Rock is a lot more consistent in its production. Because with Dark Twisted Fantasy, all the lights, the mixing is not good in that song. Like the audio quality and leveling of equalization of it, I feel like is not good. Just as a specific example.
I feel like a lot of people wouldn't even notice that though.
Yeah, but I do, and I feel like that's a genuine critique.
Yeah, it is, but like I don't.
But at the same time, Kanye is a very big perfectionist. Like with Power, he put in 500 hours.
He put in quite the extensive amount.
Yeah, and I mean you gotta appreciate that King Crimson sample too, because they're my favorite band of all time. So I can't really. Okay, this album is a very difficult discussion because they each have very individual strengths. Like I mean, lyrically, I think we agree Aesop Rock blows them out of the water, right?
Well, yeah, as far as deeper meaning goes, yeah.
Not even that, just topic wise.
Topic wise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He talks about beating a mole into the ground with a baseball bat of his former coach in a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So delivery-wise, I would argue A$AP Rock was better. Like flow and
really.
Yeah, here's why.
That's actually a surprise coming to me. I think Kanye's delivery was actually better and more compact, almost.
Here's my
solid.
Here's my thing with that is that I feel like A$AP Rock's for what his beats were, because his flow is very similar per track, but at the same time, like with Blood Sandwich and Get Out the Car sounds strangely triumphant, even though it's about his best friend dying. To where I feel like his delivery adds more to his overall stories and meaning of songs as compared to Kanye's, and that's why I prefer his delivery.
But is that contrast of mood like? I mean, I guess that's appealable. Applicable.
There you go. No, I'm not dissing Kanye's. I think they're two different purposes. Like Kanye's Kanye's using his delivery to convey his message in his lyrics, as to A$AP Rock using his delivery to add to his message. And I feel like those are two different things. And I personally would reward the other one better.
I would too, but I think that's just like overall delivery of message.
Yeah.
Isn't like something that I'd be mainly focused on an album.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean,
saying how they convey.
How the artist gets their message across is definitely what their art is. That's what music is. But
they had difference in importance too, like sonic wise and overall message. And I can get that they're different appeals.
Yeah.
Definitely. In terms of album art, while we're on the discussion of the topic of the episode, to be fair, there's a difference between topic and the method we picked our albums, which is that's the method we picked them. We're still doing music. But album art, I would personally again prefer A$AP, because A$AP Rock's Possible Kid is my favorite album art of all time. Alex is just such a talent.
I'm supporting my dark, beautiful, twisted.
Well, there's a minimalism to Kanye's, which I feel like has a very big appeal.
Yeah, no, definitely to me as well. Just because, I mean, it's as simple as simple as the painting is. I just like it.
He is pondering down at my copy of the CD right now. He is appreciating it and rubbing it in various oils.
Essential oils.
Yeah, there's. All right,
I'm a proud anti-vax parent.
This is our political episode. Shit.
I'm a proud anti-vax parent.
You were in the growing transition. So back to we are revving our engines today. I keep saying that. I don't know what it means. He has taken out the booklet and is examining it just to get a reference now.
Light hands, very light hands.
Anyway, music wise, I feel like Kanye is. I don't know. I hate the word epic because it's been ruined, but I feel like it has more of a sense of an epic.
Definitely, because what were we saying earlier? It's multiple stories.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, same with A$AP Rocks though, like with the friend dying and the shrunk idea, and hell, even Defender.
True enough, but I feel as if, like you said, Kanye's is more of an epic.
Yeah. And
Aesop's was more of a book of poems.
That's true. I feel like his is more of a short story collection, and then you finding themes and the similarities of those stories, as compared to Kanye's, there's more of like an analytical piece as a whole.
Yeah, definitely.
So I would personally prefer Aesop's album, and I'm assuming you prefer Kanye's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
flip on that.
Yeah, we get to flip it. Dude, we didn't flip once last episode.
Let me flip it.
Okay, yeah. Flip it. Okay, so which side do you want?
I'm gonna go with Turkish taffy side this time.
Okay.
Nice flipperoo.
Hey.
My luck is not aiming for me today.
Yeah, Aesop Rocky moves on. Hey, buddy boy. Alright, so next one we have Unicorns with Who Will Cut Our Hair When We're Gone versus Milo with Who Told You to Think. And this is going to be a really difficult decision because these are both my albums. I just realized...
I got my predetermined.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So any points you want to make on that decision?
I think I'm going to go Milo.
Okay. Why?
Just because I like what I said earlier about his artistic effect and how he can sound like an actual poet and rap at the same time. Like, that's been lost in the rap game.
I would say he's bringing it back in a new way as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, J.I.D. recently brought back an old type of rap flow. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but you can tell it's something classical that was brought back, but it's not exactly the same as Milo's bringing back.
Yeah. I would say Milo's is more of his creation rather than him working off of someone else.
Yeah, J.I.D.'s is more, you can tell he studied other people.
Yeah.
Like, it's not completely original.
Yeah. And we're not comparing him to J.I.D., obviously. We're just using that as a point of reference.
Yeah, reference.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I feel like Unicorns, I personally... I feel like I prefer that album, honestly, to Milo's. Here's why. Yeah, Milo's my third favorite rapper of all time. He's my third favorite rapper of all time. So I'm not trying to undercut him in any way. But the Unicorns, that it's just so bold to have a structure which is in constant evolution. And to be fair, you can say that as well with Milo's. Is to where each of them are always evolving, being added to each other in almost a cycle of just being... It's them being on top and building them reversing gravity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But they're still on top no matter what. And I feel like that applies to both of them very well. But in terms of song structure and instrumentation, I feel, and even vocal range, that applies to Unicorns, I think, just slightly more. And I feel like I appreciate that the most out of both of them. And obviously, like, Milo's as well with his electronic voice and using filters with mixers. Like, that, it really adds to that whole evolution feel.
Yeah, like, I noticed that too. When I first started listening to it, though, like I said before, I couldn't notice the evolution, so those vocal breaks and synths were kind of strange to me at first. But once you start listening to it and get used to it, it's actually very appealing, and you can, like, pick up why he put it in.
Right. So, thinking about it, though, honestly, Milo is just such a better lyricist and overall message than the Unicorns.
No, definitely.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
Like, I've spent, like, I was, like, this is your first introduction to Milo, and you've listened to him, like, we listened a couple hours ago with you, but I've spent, like, a lot of time, like, at least 10 hours, like, just delving into this album alone, let alone as a discography.
I feel like an experienced outlook on him and a brand new outlook on him pretty much sum him up. He's very good lyrically. Because I had just listened to him today and noticed that, and Jack's been listening to him.
Like, at least a year.
Yeah.
A year. Yeah, because, well, I got into rap like 2 years ago, and he was the sort of like, branching path. Well, Aesop Rock, you know what? To sort of tie it together, I think I will vote Milo through. Because I feel like Unicorns have better instrumentation, but Milo as a whole, I feel like is more, not even consistent, because they're both incredible albums, the consistent ones, but I feel like his strong points are, you can delve in, you can apply more to them as compared to Unicorns, where you're sort of lost in that trance of creativity.
Yeah, because you can follow, it's like Milo's telling you the story, but with the Unicorns, I felt more like as if the song itself was telling the story, not just them. The whole song together.
Right, and I would argue that Milo is even letting you tell your own story through his stuff. Like, just of how much meaning can be applied to his stuff.
Yeah. Giving insight to your own story.
Right, and with Unicorns, now I think about it, they don't really... Well, they do a little bit with the ghost stuff, and their ghost stuff is weird. But because you comment on, they have 5 songs with the word ghost in it.
Yeah.
But, no, I will agree. I think Milo does it slightly better. They're both incredible albums, though. They're really good. So Milo's going through, and we get to our final round, which I was really hoping was not going to be a thing, because I really do want to compare these two artists. Because
did you predict this?
Yeah, I did. I predicted this being the final round. Aesop Rock's Impossible Kid versus Milo, Who Told You to Think. And I was really regretting this.
I honestly
thought gonna hurt.
I thought Kanye was gonna make it. I thought he was. I don't know.
Well, he would have if he didn't flip.
Yeah, that's true. To
be fair, you flipped at this. It's kind of your fault.
Whatever.
So, okay, we're on to this is going to be very difficult for me because this is my favorite rapper versus my third favorite rapper. So if you want to, I'm going to let you lead on this because I have some words. But if you want to make any comparisons outside of the sphere, then go ahead.
I'm going to stick with Milo and let him continue on his streak here. I just can't say enough how much I appreciate his lyricism and his just diction. And that's it.
Would you consider his to be better than Aesop Rock?
Yes, because Aesop Rock, he has a thing, I'm not exactly sure what to call it, but it doesn't sound like he's exactly being natural.
Okay.
Like, it feels not exactly forced, but...
It feels like scripted. Like he's trying to say something.
Yeah.
Rather than it being like a natural album.
And I think that's a given because his music has so much deeper meaning, though. So I think that's...
It's like a double-edged sword type of thing.
Exactly.
A double-edged forward. No, I agree with that definitely, but I feel like I personally enjoy... See, this is a really difficult decision because I enjoy Who Told You to Think better than Impossible Kid as an album, but Aesop Rock as a personality and lyricist and rapper in general better than Milo. So it's difficult for me because I have a separation between the two. So I would... so comparison-wise, they both have individual stories very well that add to each other and tell an overall thematic story. But the Impossible Kid, I feel like you need to focus on, I guess, because Milo, I think when he says a lot of things, he says them with references in mind. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Aesop Rock says them with concepts in mind. I think that's a very big distinction. And obviously Milo definitely has a lot of concepts in his. I'm just saying he uses... I feel like Milo's, if you don't get the reference, you won't get it immediately.
Yeah.
Or not even immediately. You won't get it without having someone else tell you.
It flies over a lot. Meanwhile, with Aesop Rock, you could revisit that and pick it up a little bit easier.
Right. Because I feel like that's just in terms of reference-wise. Because Aesop Rock, I feel like, talks more about the impact of a reference rather than the reference as a comparison point. Or like a branching point for a concept.
Yeah.
I feel like I personally prefer that because it allows you to apply yourself and your experience and yourself and your takes on it more. But at the same time, Milo, his delivery, I think, is more varied and good, or not even just straight up good. Like, that's a good description on Who Told You to Think.
Yeah, like I think we've kind of been dancing around it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's like comes down to if you want to be told a story or you want someone to help tell your own story.
Well, I would say Aesop Rock does that as well.
Yeah. Like
with Get Out the Car, it's more of an advice, not even advice, just more of a reflection of advice. So I could honestly go with either. So which one would you prefer?
Milo's.
Yeah. So I think we got a winner, folks. Milo Who Told You to Think, I think, is going to take this home. If you have any other final thoughts on this, and of course, the winner will be Death Grips the Money Store. But if you would like to have any sort of final thoughts on it, then go for it.
I pretty much think that sums it up. Like, I think I've talked about it enough.
Yeah.
That sums it up.
Well, album art-wise, Aesop Rock is better, though.
What's that?
Album art-wise, Aesop Rock is better. Have you seen Milo's album art? It's great.
It
looks like a caveman drawing.
Yeah, alright,
It looks like someone got a stencil and then slapped spray paint on it with a paintbrush.
You make it fun of, like, come on
It's
now.
one of my favorite albums. But come on. And let's be real at this moment. In time and space and reality.
It's abstract.
It is, but look, hold on a second. Keep talking, because I'm moving out to get this.
I think you gotta appreciate that abstract side of things sometimes. It doesn't
You
always have
want
to
to talk
be.
about abstractness? Hold on a second. Look at this, mother. Look at this. I'll fold it. Look at this.
That's pretty heavy metal right there.
He's looking at Aesop Rocks. That's Alright, we're done here. I'm painting a paintbrush. You are gone. It's a joke. The theme should be playing because it's overtaking the bit. And we're done.
Rice. Continue to say rice.